warm welcome. And as you know that we are live on YouTube. So here we have audience from the various content of the continents of the world. So we have a global audience tonight. So may I ask everyone to just mute yourself and let's.
Sorry, guys. I think Pari has just lost the connection. I'm just checking with her.
I'm really sorry, guys. I don't know what happened. Our Zoom it just crashed suddenly. Can you hear me well?
Yes, Pari.
Okay, perfect. So warm welcome, guys, and without. Hello, Robin, can you hear me?
Pari, you are in.
Okay, perfect. I don't know what is happening. My Zoom is just crashing all the time. So without a further ado, let me just share my screen and let's start. Oh, I'm not able to share my screen, Robin. Yeah, I'm getting something.
Screen 2.
Okay. Uh, can you see the screen?
Robin, you're on mute.
Yes.
Let's
Okay,
start.
okay. So let's start. So these are the rules, guys. As always, what is happening? We the IT experts now in Project Possible. Not sure what is happening here.
Yeah. You can control now, Pari.
Okay. Nothing is happening. Okay. Yeah. So guys, keep your cell phone off or on silent mode so you can hear all the golden nuggets that going to be shared tonight. Mute your mic unless you're speaking and switch your video on so that the session here will be interactive, and make sure you're taking lots of notes so you're not missing any golden nuggets. And any question, just post it in the comment box and we will pick this up in the question and answer session after the presentation. If due to any technical reason, like it happened with me just now, use the same link and rejoin the meeting. This presentation and also the recordings, you will receive it on email within 24 hours. And at the end, just let us know how we did tonight and how we, as a Project Possible team, how we do normally on the Trustpilot. We will share the link soon. So here is our today's agenda. We have a great speaker here. He's a property entrepreneur and he's a well-known property expert in the UK and also globally. So Mr. Saj here today will present some golden nuggets, some tips for the beginners in the property investing. And also after the presentation, we will have 20 minutes question and answer session, and we will announce our next expert for the next month. And after that, we will share the link for the Trustpilot. So just let us know and make some reviews for us. And yeah, we will announce the next expert and also vote of thanks at the end. So after this, on this note, I will pass it to Kushal, and Kushal will take over from here.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining tonight's Project Possible meeting. So little bit about tonight's expert. So he is a well-known figure in UK property investment. So hope you guys also know about him. He started his investing career in 2007, and he is now at a stage where he has built multi-million pound property portfolio and empire. He has got experience in various property strategies like buy-to-let, service accommodation, HMOs, and also new builds. So he has got tremendous amount of experience in different strategies as well. Also, he is well known for creating great joint venture structures where he helped people who are cash rich but poor with time, structuring the joint venture structure so that everybody benefits from it. So we are very lucky to have him today speaking at Project Possible event. So without further ado, Saj, over to you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I really appreciate that. So this is going to be a bit more of an interactive session. So first of all, let me know if you've heard me before, if you've seen me, if you've come across me before. Maybe just pop something in the chat box while I just get the screen share working, just to help me understand. Just 1 second, get my chat up as well so I can see the chat. Excellent, fantastic. And let me know if you've never seen me, come across me before as well. No idea who I am this evening. Okay. So tell me, what is it that would be a good outcome for you this evening? So before we get started, I have an idea. I've got a presentation that I've put together for you to share with you, to help you. But rather than me delivering what I think you need, but tell me what it is that you would really help you this evening before we get started. Project Possible kind enough to invite me this evening to share some knowledge and experience with you. There's lots of different things I can talk about, but I really want to make sure I'm adding lots of value for you. For those that already know me or come across me before will know, you know, for me, it's important that I'm actually delivering something that's meaningful and helpful to you. So either my chat is broken, or nobody's responding. So help me out here. Let me know what would be a good outcome for you. And if you don't have one, just let me know that, you know, there's no clear outcome that you have necessarily for this evening either. Just pop it in the chat section. And then we'll get started. Okay, so Pari HMO development, conversion. And what has everybody else got a strategy, something they've got in mind in terms of what is it that they want to do? Okay, good. Getting some comments now. So while property business is good even now when the interest rate's high and inflation is high, good points. Learn more about your journey. I'll be sharing some of that as well. Okay, well, look, let me run through what the presentation I've got planned for this evening, and then we'll have some questions towards the end as well. And just get those questions ready, and then I'll do my very best to answer those for you as well. So a little bit of quick background for you, first of all, for those that have not come across me before. You can connect with me online. I try to be active as I can online. Most of our content is on YouTube. There's probably 300 plus videos, more than a million, 1.2 million views, I think we've had on those videos over the years. I say over the years, really most of it's been built over the last couple of years. It was turned out to be a little bit of a lockdown project. I speak at various events, run lots of networking, but then when lockdown happened, I had kind of more time, then I committed to that, and then now we regularly try and put out at least 2 videos a week. So lots of good content on there. We run networking events as well, and you know, always keen to try and help other people, and hence I was more than happy to come and share this evening. My background is before I got into property, I ran writing. Oh, sorry, we've got somebody having a side conversation as well. That's okay, you can join in, but it might be easier if just one of us is presenting this evening. So my background is I left university and I started an IT company. This was late 80s, early 90s, so a very long time ago. I know I don't look old enough, but my oldest child is 28 years old, maybe not a child now. So, you know, I'm a little bit long in the tooth. And really that I think was just right timing, right place. You know, I really didn't want to work for anybody else. I just wanted to do something of my own, kind of always been fairly entrepreneurial. And that worked quite well, you know, through stumbling along. And then we got some very, very good results over time with that. And what I found was that, you know, I kind of felt that anything I touched would turn to gold. And sometimes we can start believing our old hype a little bit. Then I had a very humbling experience where really due to a series of bad decisions, even though I built this quite an empire at the time, everything collapsed. I pretty much lost everything and started again from zero pretty much. And, you know, I say I learned a lot more on the way down than I did on the way up. And it was, as I said, very humbling experience. And, you know, I kind of licked my wounds for a while and kind of blamed everybody else. The reality was the reason I was there in that situation is because of the person I look at in the mirror every morning, i.e. myself. It was the decisions I made, the decisions I chose that got me to where I was. And it was only myself that can get me out of that situation as well. And so I was thinking about property, although I'd been kind of interested in property. I'd been a big fan of the Sunday Times Rich List, got pretty much all the editions, and I'd kind of religiously look through those whenever it's released and how people create their wealth. And so much of that wealth, particularly in the UK, is either made from property or is kept in property. And that for me was the enlightenment moment that actually, you know, this is what I need to look at. But the biggest challenge was the belief that you need huge amounts of money to get started in property. And I certainly didn't have that. I barely had 2 pennies to rub together at that point. But, you know, I started attending events and learning about property. And then, if I've been honest, my first 2 years are very, very difficult. And they were very difficult because I was just learning so many different things with so many different people, but I actually wasn't really getting any results. But you feel like you're trying all the right things, but not getting the results. And I was stuck in that place. And really the change happened when somebody who's already much more experienced than me and said, look, you know, stop doing all these things and just focus. And some of that we're going to talk about this evening, and just do one strategy and do that one well. And for me at that time was sourcing. There was a lot of good deals around at the time, huge amount of deals, but very little appetite for people to buy. I started sourcing, selling. Then I started partnering with people rather than just selling the deals. We started doing some buy to lets, then flipping property, then some smaller developments, some larger developments, HMOs, smaller ones, larger ones, service accommodation, lots of creative strategies using options. So there's a lot of different things I did over the years. Some of it was by accident because we were just looking at deals. What can we do with this deal? But some of it really was because it was focused and that was intentful. And now what we tend to focus on is still good quality HMOs in Birmingham. We do commercial to residential conversion and also building new property out of the ground. That tends to be our kind of bread and butter. I've been fortunate over the years as we've built up this business. There's probably about 700 tenants that we manage across our properties. Not all of them are our properties we manage in HMOs and also service accommodation as well. And then we do some training, mentoring, networking as well. So that's kind of a little bit of a background about me, just for those that have not come across me before in terms of what I do. But the best place to find my stuff is online, and look me up, particularly on YouTube. So most of us have seen this person. We've come across him before. We all know who he is. We might or might not love his politics. I'm certainly not a big fan of his politics. But the thing is, if you understand how he's one of the most successful property developers in the world, and you understand how he's done that, much of that is being done using none of his money. It's about control. It's understanding how to control property rather than own property. And, you know, here's the same, when I first arrived in New York, I had no money, but that didn't let that stop me. I focused on buying real estate with no money. And that's really how he built his business. Now, there was a small matter of his father lent him a little bit of money to get started. That just happened to be $1 million. So, you know, he did have a bit of a head start. It wasn't a case it was ground zero he started at. But the point is, you can learn a lot about success people have achieved by understanding how they've done things and certain strategies they've followed. So one thing I want to do today is give you a little gift. I'm going to have a little competition towards the, actually, what we'll do, we'll announce the winner tomorrow on this. So it may be, if you're live watching right now, you've got a chance to get in the competition. I'm going to give away a copy of his book, where you'll learn how he built literally hundreds of millions of dollar property business without any money, and he shares his story on that. All you need to do is, if you've got one thing that you've got from this evening that you pick up that you've learned, post that on social media, tag me in, hashtag Wealth Academy, which is our training, and then we'll pick one person tomorrow and we'll get the book across, and I'll let Parry know as well who we've picked to do that too. So if there's no post, then the book will still sit on my bookshelf tomorrow, and if there is, there'll be one person that win. Let you into a little secret. Most people don't bother, and they just think it's not going to be me. So I'd strongly encourage you. There isn't a huge amount of people on this evening. Give it a shot, and you might be in for winning that. So let's jump into what I want to talk about this evening. Really, it's how do you succeed, not just succeed, but massively succeed in property investing. I've been fortunate enough that I've seen lots and lots of people, and I've been able to help and support people because some of the continuation of my property investing journey from when I started getting some progress, I started helping other people, training other people, and I was with one of the larger property training companies, and I ended up working with them for about 9 years, delivering a lot of senior support and delivering a lot of the kind of high level content for them. Then about 3 years ago, I wanted to do my own thing, and I kind of broke off to do that. So I've had the benefit from being able to see what works and what doesn't work, and why is it that so many people fail. So let's have a reality check. The vast majority of people that start in property fail. And if you look at somebody who's interested in property and we get them together again about a year's time, the majority will have given up, because it's not easy. Because most people think you press the magic button, you get rich, and hey presto, job done, it's passive income. And some of the people that sell dreams may make you believe it's that easy. The reality is it's hard work, but the rewards are absolutely phenomenal. There's very little else that you can do that produces those kind of rewards. I know there might be some crypto billionaires watching, but that's a completely different thing. It's not the same as building assets in a business. So it's really, these are the kind of the key learnings. These are things I think that most people, if they did differently, their results would phenomenally change. So the first thing is having a clear strategy. And this is something I shared that I massively struggled with at the beginning when I started. There's just so many different ways to invest in property. There's many, many different ways to make money. But how do you pick the right one? Do you pick the right one because you heard somebody else talking about it and you copy that and you think that's the one for me? Or do you actually pick something in a more structured way that's actually going to suit you? Then it's about finding deals. It doesn't matter what strategy you pick. You still got to be able to find those deals to get the deals done to move forward. So you need to have an ability to be able to find the deals. And then the third one is the money to do the deals. It doesn't matter if you've got the best strategy in the world, you've got deals coming out your ears. If you haven't got the money, the ability to be able to fund those, then it isn't going to work either. If you get these three things right, it will completely change your results over the next 1-2 years. So look, they've been massive learnings for me. So I think maybe we should just wrap up the seminar there today now, and sort of that's the job done. That's right, the message delivered. But I'm guessing you want a little bit more. So let's go a little bit deeper on these three things. But these are the three things I want to focus on this evening in the time that we have. So first of all, when it comes to strategies, we get overwhelmed with strategies, and that was really where I really struggled at the beginning, because I was in a position where, let's face it, I was in a fairly desperate position. I was broke, and I was trying to find, how do I get started in property? When I started in 2006, late 2006, 2007, at that time, many people, the strategy they was following was no money down. They were buying property with no money. And I was trying to understand, how can you do this? I could see other people doing it, but I didn't quite understand how to do it. And I'd go along to events, and there wasn't that much in the way of online stuff then. There was a couple of forums, but certainly this was before Facebook. We'd go to some networking events and, learn a little bit, read a few books. But it was really difficult. You see somebody speaking and they're talking about, hey, they're doing HMOs, they're making £1,000 a month. And I'm thinking, oh, that's the strategy for me. That's the one I need to do. And I kind of, just one of those, and my life will be completely different. A month later, you hear a different speaker. They're talking about, hey, you can buy properties for £1. And I'm thinking, whoa, I've got £10. Maybe I can buy a few houses. And then I'm off pursuing that strategy, and I'm thinking that's the one I want to do. Following month, somebody else is talking about no money down, and I'm thinking, forget the pound. Now I want to buy houses for free. So, I jest a little bit, but the reality is many of us have experienced, we just jump around between different things. We don't really settle down with one strategy. And this list of strategies you can see on the screen, this is not an exhaustive list of all the strategies that exist. These are the ones that I've been through. These are all the strategies that I've done over the years, and not because they're the brilliant strategies. Some of them be done by accident, some of them because they have worked really, really well for us. But now we're focusing on a few of these. Primarily, if I look at this list, HMOs is still a core part of our business. Flips when we can get them. Service accommodation, again, a core part of the business. The BRR strategy we combine with HMOs, which is how we kind of add value and get the profit. How we get our cash out and be able to get really good cash flow from those developments, new build, commercial to residential, and some planning gain. That's kind of really sort of things that we are spending our time and effort in. So a lot of the stuff that we're doing right now is not because that's it's down to me. It's because I've been able to build a really good team. I have about 27 staff that work with me in different parts of the business, and that's really why we're able to do many things. But at the beginning, you have to get clear on one strategy. You've got to pick one strategy that's going to work for you. But many people pick the strategy based on what they've seen somebody else do, rather than what might be easy for them, what might be the right strategy for them. And so I talk about, finding your superpower and then matching the strategy to the person, rather than you picking a strategy because it sounds like, hey, that sounds like a lot of money. I could do that strategy. Let's do that. And so there's 7 parts of this, I think, that are important to think about when you consider which is going to be the right strategy for you. The first one is really your ability to tap into money. So this is about how much money you already have saved, what equity you might have in property, maybe even a home you can remortgage, your credit file, how good is that? Are you even able to tap into mainstream finance? Then you've got things like people you might already know that have money that may want to work with you, might want to invest with you. These are all ways that you can tap into money. So when we talk about access to capital, it's not necessarily money sitting in your bank, it's what ability you have to tap into money. So for example, if you're absolutely skint and everybody knows is skint and your credit record is appalling, then you're slightly in a more challenged position. But it doesn't mean that there's no strategies available to you. And this isn't a yes-no type thing where put a tick in the box, yes for capital or no for capital. This is really about to what extent you can access finance. Is it something you've got readily available, or is it something that's going to be more challenging? Because let's face it, if you've got a lot of cash available to you, then there's some strategies you can get results in very quickly. But if you haven't got the funds available, it doesn't mean it can't be done. You just got to find which strategy is going to work better. Is this making sense? Give me a kind of nod or a thumbs up, or yeah. Excellent. So the next one is really the time commitment. How much time do you need to commit to these strategies? So, we're all familiar with buy-to-lets, and that's probably, when it comes to property investing, I really don't think there's anything such as passive investments. There always is some management involved, some oversight. I think the people who make a complete mess of it and get their hands burnt, who just hand it to somebody else and think it's completely passive, I'm just going to go sit on a beach, because you have no control over what's going on. You have to, as with any business, understand your numbers. You need your reports, monthly reports, what's going on, people that are responsible for doing things. That might even be your letting agent. You don't have to employ people directly, but they're still producing the information, sending you the data. You need to review it and see where you need to improve things. And so the level of time you need to put into strategy will vary. So for instance, if you, let's say you want to do rent to rent, then you need to have the time to be able to go out there, work with the agents. You need to go out there, do the marketing to the landlords, to start those conversations. And let's say you're going to do rent to HMO. But once you've got those properties, you've got to put the effort in, get all the conversion done, get the compliance done, get it furnished, get it operational. You need to do the market research to make sure there's sufficient demand there, but also understanding what type of clients you're going to have in the property as well. And then hopefully you'll get some tenants that will come in and move into the property, but now you've got to look after the tenants as well. And you've got to manage all of that. So the amount of work that's going to go into, for example, a rent to HMO is very different to, say, a bog standard vanilla buy to let. So your time availability will also impact which strategy that you should pick. So next is really about skills. Now in property, you're going to need some skills. Different strategies require different skills. Sometimes people think about, hey, look, I don't necessarily have those skills to do that strategy. What I think is important is identifying really, what your superpower is. What is it that you're really already good at? So for instance, let's say you work in sales. It may be you're brilliant with people in that communication, in kind of influence outcomes, in kind of selling concepts, selling the ideas. And so then you'll be very good at those strategies that require front-end communication, dealing with the agents, dealing directly with the sellers, negotiating those deals. You'll be in your element when doing that type of strategy. But let's say you're somebody that's much more analytical. You like your massive spreadsheets over 2 screens, and that's you in your element there. If you need to talk to somebody, maybe that's probably not where you like to be. You just like to be with your computer and Excel, for example. And then, you'd think about where is that analytical side going to be more valuable. So, for example, let's say you're doing planning gain. Planning gain is really about understanding technicalities about how you can use the legal planning system to add value to property you don't even own. And then you sell that. You never do any work on the properties. It's all about adding paper value effectively. You might be suited more to that. If, for example, you're an IT project manager, then just the fact that you've got project management skills, you're probably going to be able to transfer that over to manage a team of builders. So it's thinking about what skills you have that could be transferred into the business, your property business that you're going to run. Now, it doesn't mean that, let's say, for example, accounts. I don't enjoy doing the account side. We have 3 people in our accounts team that kind of work there. I can do the accounts, but it's not something I revel in. So it's thinking about if you can focus on the things you're good at and get even better at those, rather than spending your time and effort trying to improve the ones you're okay at. Because if you're bad or okay at something, you're never going to be awesome at that. Why don't you just focus on the things you are awesome at and be even better at those, shine at those? Making sense? Yeah, excellent. So the next is really about relevant knowledge. What understanding do you already have about the particular strategy? For example, let's say your family had a couple of buy-to-let properties. That means you probably understand a little bit around how things work, about purchasing, managing tenants, collecting rent, maybe dealing with arrears, rather than no understanding whatsoever. On the other hand, it may be that you are, for example, an electrician as a day job. When you're dealing with property every day, you're dealing with other tradespeople every day, then that knowledge that you've got there, you may not see as relevant necessarily to property investing, but it's putting you ahead because you understand property, you understand the fabrics of property. So it's thinking about what knowledge you already have that might work really well with that particular strategy. And then the 5th one is really your location. Because let's face it, the strategies that work in Birmingham are going to be very different to the ones that work in Bournemouth and very different to the ones that are going to work in Blackpool. So the strategies are different because the markets are different. They have micro markets. And sometimes you'll get kind of generally across the country, something similar is happening. For example, over the last few months, prices have been rising really quickly. There's been massive demand. A lot of people are struggling to get deals. People are being picked at the post by somebody else coming in and overpaying. And that's going on generally across the country. So that's kind of something that's more macro, if you like. But then you get micro markets by understanding your local town and cities and what's going on there, where the opportunities are. And this may be that you're investing on your doorstep, but it might be you've chosen, something that's 200 miles away. But whatever the locality is you're choosing, you have to understand what's the situation with the market there. So, for example, if I'm looking for, say, discounted property and I want below market value property and I'm thinking I want 25% discount in Birmingham, it's going to be exceptionally hard to find that in this market. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but actually it's just going to be very hard. So am I going to be doing the sensible thing, spending all my time and energy trying to find those deals? Probably not. But let's say I'm, in Hull or one of the small towns, the northeast of the country, they're much more deprived. And there you've got much higher chance to pick up discounted property. Because what's happening is not uniform across the country. It will vary from localities, understanding locality, what will work better in that area. And then number 6 is really people you already know, your contacts, your connections. This is not your immediate contacts even, LinkedIn describes this as your second degree connections, your contacts through your contacts. So for example, you might have a relative that's married to somebody that works in a estate agency. That's an indirect contact. And although you might not have a direct one-to-one relationship with them right now, just the fact that you can use that intro, it just gives you a little bit of a head start. So thinking about your network, your contacts, who do you know, including people on social media you're connected with as well, it makes it so much easier when there is some kind of intro or some connection there to be able to tap into other people. So for instance, if you're looking for rent to rent right now, and you're trying to work with the agents, and the agents are not giving you a time of day, but through a contact you are introduced to an agent, you've probably got a little bit of a better chance. So it's how do you utilize your contacts that you already have, and not your necessarily immediate contacts, but your contacts through your contacts. And finally, it's about the timing of the market, because the property works in a cycle. You have periods where there's a boom, bust, a recovery phase. So the property market's always going in different stages, and different strategies work better in different stages. So for example, let's say in a bust scenario, when there's a decline going on, then things like lease options, purchase lease options, those strategies work really well. Let's say the market is, say, rising, not super fast, but it is rising. Then your flips work really well because you're adding value, but also the market's rising as well at the same time. So it's just understanding that certain strategies will work better. Now, when you pull all these things together, that's 7 different things we talked about in trying to find a strategy. Very few people take the time to really think about which is going to be the right strategy. When you do yourself a little diagram, when we do this, I mean, we do some workshops and things. This is one of the things that we focus on, and we do various different workshops. But one of the things we spend a lot of time on is just get your strategy right, because it's going to make a massive difference in terms of your overall success rate. Otherwise, I'm sure many of us have seen this. People will do something for 2 months, 3 months, and then they give up. Then they're after doing a different strategy. 2 months, 3 months, oh, you didn't quite get the result, they're off doing something else, because they haven't really knuckled down to find a strategy that suits them, and they work on that. So this generally, this kind of graphic, I forgot what to call it then, this graphic describes a little bit about what we do. So for example, here right now we're doing content we're sharing with you, like blogs, interviews. We used to do weekly lives. We're not doing any right now. We will again soon. Social media content we have a monthly network meeting that we run. I encourage you to, one of the ways to build your network is run little network meetings. You don't have to run these massive ones. Just have people that get together. So when I first started our networking events, it was the Birmingham Property Investors Curry Night. There's about 3 or 4 people who used to turn up for that. That was it. But it was meant we could meet people, talk about property. You can invite people ordinarily you may not get the opportunity to connect with. So, you should try and create your own little networking space. And if you can't, at least go to others. And over time, this is really, fortunately, has grown quite well. So apart, outside of London, we probably run the biggest property networking events monthly, about 200 people a month we have at Edgbaston Cricket Stadium for our events. And Property Investors Community is a little bit online support that we do. And Property Insiders Edge is our main kind of entry-level training that we do. So some of the stuff I'm teaching this evening comes from that particular program. These are more kind of 1, 2, and 3 day training programs. This is our mentoring program. So just kind of a little bit about how that works. And, we've many people, I wouldn't assume you've been on training, but many people that have attended training, sometimes you end up in a room with, literally 100 or 200 people. And yes, you'll get some knowledge from that, but that's not the same as being able to interact with the person that's helping you and supporting you. Our workshop, we try and have about 20 people in there. This is our own training suite that we have. So, it's an opportunity to really kind of get deep into answering questions and making sure you leave with your question answered. And I've been to events where Tony Robbins events, particularly if you've ever been, yeah, Tony, hey, and Tony's on stage about this small because there's about 10,000 other people there as well. It's not really an intimate experience. It's great fun, but it's really not the same thing. You're getting information, but I don't call that learning. So we try and create workshops that are quite small, intimate, and really help people to get the answers they want to get them moving forward. I'll just briefly tell you about the program, the entry-level program we do. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. And we have programs, our mentoring programs, about £15,000. Most people don't start there. They look at kind of either the entry-level program, which is this one, or they just come along to our monthly property meet, at £20. So one of the things we focus on a lot is finding deals, different way to find deals. And I'm going to touch on some of these in a moment. There's about 4 of these I'm going to share with you this evening. Don't just follow the herd, follow the sheep in terms of trying to find deals. Look at different ways to try and find deals. And then stacking the deals, making sure they're analyzing. Too many people try and force deals to fit. They kind of like file the edges and say, well, if we increase the rent a little bit more and we reduce the cost a little bit, then we're going to get this deal to work. No, you have a set criteria of what's going to work, and you stick to that, and that's how you analyze your deals. Some of the software tools that we use to try and get a little bit ahead, and things that identifying, where's a motivated seller. If a property's come up for sale, it's come back off the market, come back on, come back off. If it's for sale and to let at the same time, if it's been up for sale for months, all these are little clues that the seller might be motivated. So we use software tools that help us to identify these things to just, again, accelerate results for us. And negotiating, which is really important in terms of creating win-wins that everybody's happy with, because we've done deals where we've negotiated what we think is a really good deal. Particularly in the early days I was doing this, I think, yeah, I've got an amazing deal. And what happens is it's not really a win-win. A few weeks later, after I've spent money with the solicitors and searches and surveys, the seller changes their mind, or they find somebody else, because I haven't really taken the time to understand them and their needs. But if you're able to do that and you create a bond and you create a negotiation that they're very happy to work with you, then they're going to stick with you and the deal's going to happen rather than going to back out of it. And packaging deals, I think, is really important, because finding deals is hard work. But you'll come across deals which are good, but not brilliant. But actually, you might not do it, but somebody else might be interested in doing it. And if you can monetize that, you can sell that to somebody else, £2,000, £3,000, £4,000. It just means it kind of funds your marketing activity, at least, if nothing else. And even if you're doing one of those a month, it all helps. And that way, when if you build a relationship with an agent, they're bringing you deals. You might not buy the deal, but if you can keep that deal moving, or you sell it to somebody else, the agent's going to keep bringing you more. Becoming a money magnet in terms of attracting money. We're going to talk about that today in a short while. Anyway, some of that. And really, but the strategy, come back to strategy, having the right strategy to get the result. They're the kind of some of the things we talk about over that 2-day workshop. As people that are here this evening on, the Project Possible program, will do an amazing deal. You don't have to pay $997. If you're interested, just ping us a message on social media. But let's jump back into the content, and let's now talk about the second part, which is deals. So finding deals is absolutely key. All of these things are key, hence 3 keys. But deals, input, you've got to have deals. You've got to have the flow of deals. But which comes first, money or deals? I'd love to know your thoughts. Where do you start? Do you start looking for money first to be able to do the deals, or do you find the deals first? This interactive bit. And if you're having your lunch, stop, unmute yourself. Let me know what you think. Dinner. Okay, so we've got deals, money, deals, I guess money. So we've got a mixture of things, right? So here's my view. You need to be doing both. You need to be spinning 2 plates at the same time. It's not one. You've got to be doing them both. But let's talk about them one at a time. So deals, often, the thing is, as we're saying right now, the market's hot. And we all know people, some of us, we know them very well, who spend 4 hours every night on Rightmove. I'm looking for a deal. I'm looking for a deal. I'm going to sleep late today, honey. I'm just trying to find that deal. And we're doing it every day. But the deals are not necessarily going to be found that way on Rightmove, because that's where everybody's looking, right? And then where else do you look for deal? Where else do we find property? There's 3 main places. Where else do we find them? We're looking on Rightmove, so portals, Rightmove, Zoopla, all these places. Where else?
Estate agents.
Estate agents. We go to the estate agents, and we say, hey, I've been on a course this weekend. I'm looking for those 25% discounted deals. What have you got available for me? That's what we're doing, right? And the agent goes, yeah, here's another one. The card goes in the bin, and because they've got a queue of 20 people outside. I'm selling a property. I've got 2 properties I'm selling this week. I've listed one of them. I'm doing viewings on Saturday. I'm going to do the viewings myself. And, I'm just getting bombarded with people trying to get the views in. I'm only going to do them on Saturday. Why? Because I want people to see that there's a lot of other interest as well. And so somebody messaged me and said, can I come Monday? I said, no, I'm only going to do them on Saturday. They said, can I come next Saturday? I said, if you like, but it's very likely I've sold the property by then. Do you see? Because that's the nature of the market right now. So what happens with the estate agents? They're not interested in sitting down and building a relationship with you. When I was when I first started, agents was the easy way to start, because the market I was in was the opposite of what it is right now. The reason it was the opposite is at the moment, There's a huge amount of money in the marketplace. There's a huge demand, but the stock levels are low. So the supply is low, but the demand is high. Then it was the opposite. Then the supply was very high because a lot of repossessions, a lot of prices were falling, but the demand was very low because everybody was scared the market was crashing. It's when's it going to finish? The price is still falling. Prices, not like now we're talking about prices keep rising. Then every day is prices falling, prices falling. When's it going to stop? So people are scared, they're fearful, they wouldn't buy. So it's still a challenge. But, you know, I could go to an estate agent, sit down with them, have a cup of tea, get through a packet of biscuits, and we'd be there for 2 hours and they'd be quite happy talking to me because the phone wasn't ringing and nobody else was walking through the door. You try that today. They're not interested. They haven't got time for you. The phone doesn't stop ringing. So what we've got to do is think about, okay, how do we do things differently? So what's the third one then? So we've got deals that are on portals, Rightmove, Zoopla, we've got estate agents. Where's everybody else look for deals? It's an easy one. It's auctions, right? Yeah. So we watch Homes Under the Hammer. We're all property experts and we're off to the auction. Right? It must be easy, though it's on TV every day, right? So that's the three places most people look, but they're the hardest places to find deals. So Jeet's asking me what period I'm talking about. I'm talking about kind of like 2008, 9, 10, around that time. It was really difficult kind of in terms of raising finance, which is one of the reasons it was there were so many deals around as well. Now, when one of the auctioneers locally to us, they do very well. What they do is they'll list a property, let's say it's worth £100,000, for argument's sake. They list it at £20,000 as a guide price. What happens? It causes a frenzy. People are queuing outside to get into the auction because they think they're going to buy a house for 20,000. They are not going to buy a house for 20,000. It's misleading to grab attention to really get people there. And what happened? People get carried away. The house doesn't sell for 100,000. The house sells for 110,000. So you're not going to get the deals in auctions in that way. However, there are some tricks which I'm going to share with you in a moment. So the point I'm trying to make is, look, this is what everybody's doing. You can't follow everybody like sheep. You have to look at how can we see out, how can we look outside the box? Where are the opportunities outside the box? And so I was talking about 41 ways. I want to share 4 ways with you quickly. How are we doing for time? Okay, we're okay. I have no idea where I am time-wise. So if I'm going over, just let me know. So let's talk about planning portals first of all. We all know what planning portals are. Well, if you don't, essentially when you make a planning application, they get listed onto a portal. It's general public information. Everybody can see what planning applications are being made. You might be thinking right now, Saj, what on earth are you talking about? Where are the deals on planning portals? Well, let's break it down a little bit. Somebody makes an application for planning. Let's say it gets refused. Ultimately, when we talk about finding deals, what we really mean is we're looking to talk to people who are motivated and keen to sell. And what we are saying to them is, look, be flexible with the price and I'll be flexible in getting that deal done with you. So often it's speed and certainty. They want speed, they want certainty, and you're saying, get me a lower price, get me a better deal, and we'll do that. So that's often how your deals are done. So what we're really looking for is motivation. Now, when we're looking for things on the planning portal, let's say something's been refused planning. There's a chance that person might be getting a bit fed up. They might be open to maybe selling that property. Let's say it's been approved. Well, it's been approved, but it might have taken, you know, a year to get to approval. And now the circumstances change, they might consider selling it. Or let's say it's been withdrawn, which is the other option. It tends to be one of those 3 things. And it could have been withdrawn more than once. That means they're getting frustrated because they can't get a result. So by just writing to the people who are going through planning of any sort, whether it's been approved, declined, or withdrawn, and if, let's say, for example, writing to somebody it's been approved, they say, hey, congratulations on the approval for your planning. I'm just reaching out to say if you'd be interested in selling or maybe leasing your property, please give me a call. I'd really love to speak to you. That's it. And let's say it's been declined. Say, I'm really sorry to hear your planning application declined. If you even consider selling or maybe even leasing, I'd really be interested in having a conversation with you. That's it. And if it's withdrawn, you might just say, hey, look, you know, I noticed that your planning application has been withdrawn a few times. And if you would consider selling, I'd really, you know, like to speak to you. That's literally all you're doing, because what you're trying to do, you don't do one of these essay letters that I get. I mean, I pull my drawer out to some of the letters that we get, you know, as a landlords. The page is like 3 pages long. I'm thinking, you are not a wordsmith. You are not an expert in being able to sell in the written form. Your letter has one objective, is to get the person to call you. That's it. So keep it really short, one paragraph, that's it. One call to action, phone me, nothing else. Because that's all you want them to do. You want to pick up the phone and start talking to you. Now you've got their phone number. Now, even if there's nothing there, you can go back to them. See? So that's all you want. If you try to do pages and pages of explanation, they will then make their decision whether they do or don't want to work with you based on what you've written. But you don't want them to make that decision. You just want them to start talking to you. That's all. And so with motivated sellers, which is really what we're talking about finding here, what you want to do is first identify them and just start a conversation. Many of the deals we do started off as, hey, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in your proposal. But that doesn't mean what they're saying. Firstly, it's not personal. It doesn't mean they don't like me and, I'm offended. It doesn't matter. What they're saying is, no, that doesn't work for me. But it's no, not never. It's just no, not right now. And that's really important to remember, because motivation also sometimes you can see as frustration, and frustration will increase over time. So let's say, for example, somebody's getting divorced and you're reaching out to them about, hey, you're selling right now, let's have a chat. And they say, no, we're not really interested in your, low offers or whatever it might be. Let's say 4 months have gone by. They've already made the decision that they hate each other and that they want to part ways. They might be getting more frustrated in 4 months' time if they haven't sold and be open to a conversation. And it may not necessarily be you're doing a straightforward purchase. You could do something more creative where, for example, you're partnering with them, adding value to the property, selling, and they're making a profit without buying, but you can allow them both to go away. You see, so you can start getting creative because people will work with you when they're motivated. So it's just really what we're trying to do is identify the motivation, start the conversation. So Planning Portal is a very easy way. Very, very few people do this. And which is what I'm trying to do, share with you a few tricks and ideas that you may not necessarily have thought about. Mortgage brokers. How are mortgage brokers going to get you deals? Well, let's break this down then. Mortgage brokers, they arrange finance, now often successfully, but sometimes they can't get the mortgage. Sometimes the person is not mortgageable. Sometimes they can't get the right loan to value that they need, i.e. borrow the amount of money they need. Sometimes it might be a broken chain and they can't fix that. Sometimes it can be a credit history issue. They are the first people to know there's an issue in raising finance. Now, some of those people might need to sell. Some of those people might need to fix that chain. Some of those people might be very keen to work with you because they need to get something resolved. Not all of them. But if you've got a relationship with a mortgage broker and you're working with them, all the mortgage broker has to do is say to the client, hey, look, I'm sorry, this is not going to go through, or this isn't happening, it's been declined, refused, or whatever the case might be. But I've got a friend, they're involved in property. Maybe, if you have a chat with them, they might be able to come up with some other solutions. Would it be okay for me to introduce you to them? That's all the broker's doing. Getting their permission, putting them in touch with you. And then your job is to understand what's going on in that situation, understand the circumstances, and see if you can find a solution to their problems. That's really what we're doing as property investors. You're kind of a social worker, really. And if you can find solutions to problems, you'll do deals. So really, I put mortgage broker here, but there's many other professionals that fall into the same category. Architects, for example, accountants. Accountants know, they know their financial situation of all of their clients. They know who needs money, who's got plenty of money, who's interested in buying property, who needs to sell some of their property. Again, it's just building that relationship with them, getting them to refer to you, and you look after the person. Everything's done, above board, nothing underhand, nothing dodgy going on here. Do you see? It's making sense. Yeah, excellent. So next one is unsold at the auction. Now, if somebody goes to the auction to sell a property, it's usually seen as the last resort. It usually means they are really keen to sell, so they've gone to the auction to try and get it sold. 28 days are going to get their money. That's their belief, right? Now, let's say it doesn't sell in the auction. Where does that leave them? What are the other options? They're very limited. What else can they do? There isn't much more they can do if they're in that situation. Now, there's three ways really to buy at the auction. One is on the auction day, you come and stick your hand up, is I'll have that. The other way is you agree a deal before it goes into the auction, so it gets withdrawn in the auction, or it gets, sometimes you'll see it as sold prior. That means the deal's already been done before the auction day. Other times it can be done afterwards. So, for example, it's not sold. You go to the auctioneer, say, hey, look, I'm still interested, and you strike a deal. However, the best deals are done when it's not sold and it goes stale. What do I mean by that? You wait 4, 6, 8 weeks, and then you reach out to the seller If the property is still unsold, you just send them a note. How do you get these details, by the way? So let me just give it to people think, well, how am I going to find these people? Well, they have legal packs. Legal packs have all the details in them. You download the legal packs, all the information there. The solicitor's detail, the owner's detail. And there's a number of times that we couldn't find the owner necessarily, and we just sent an email to the solicitor. We notice your client is selling the auction. If they're interested in selling, please ask them to call us on this number. That's it. Do you see? So you can get in touch with people straight, have a direct conversation with them. And now they are a month, 2 months after the auction. Not everybody, but some of those might be very open to having a conversation with you about structuring a deal. Do you see? How many people do these things? They don't. Very, very few people do these things. And then for sale by owner. So what we're talking about here is people that don't necessarily want to work with agents or don't want to pay the agents. They're trying to sell the property themselves. The advantage is, let's say you're trying to do something creative like an exchange with delayed completion, assisted sale, or one of these fancy, more kind of creative strategies that you can do and make phenomenal amounts of money from. And you go and talk to these agents and say, hey, look, let me explain how this is going to work. You're just going to blow their mind. Now, their job is now to go and explain it to the seller. It's just not going to work. It's all going to get lost in translation. But if you can sit in front of the owner and speak to them directly, you've got a much higher chance of getting a result, because some of it is just rapport. They have to like you. Business is done when people get to know, like, and trust you. If they don't know you, they don't like you, they don't trust you, it's not going to happen. So, for example, I said, I put a lot of good content out there. I'm happy to do presentations like this. We spend a lot of time and money putting out free content. Why do we do that? We're not insane. We run a business. But why do we do it? Because what we're doing, we're allowing people to get to know, like, and trust us. And if they want to do business with us, it's just so much easier. We don't have to go chasing for the business. People approach us when they're ready, because they get to know us, because they've seen us socially online. They get to like us. They'll make a decision very quickly whether they like us or not. If they don't, that's okay. We're not trying to persuade them to like us. If they like us, great. And then the trust happens because they're watching a lot of your content. So I'm looking at you now. I can see the whites of your eyes. If you've got your cameras on, you can see the whites of my eyes. That's a much better way to build a relationship than, say, on the phone. Do you see? Now, you can do that on social media. You can do YouTube, for example. All of this is helping to get to know, like, and trust. So the point I'm trying to make is that's where the real business is done. So when you can get in front of the owner, you're still selling, but rather than selling, for in the sense that we're selling, invest with us or learn from us or whatever. Now what you're doing, you're selling, saying to the owner, sell to me, sell your property to me. That's what you're trying to sell to them. Yeah, i.e. you, but for them to buy into you. If I can't explain that correctly. So whenever there's an opportunity to get in front of an owner, that's what you want to do. And there's lots of tricks you can use as well. If the property is the agent, for example, one of my favorite ones is, I turn up the property to do a viewing. I've got my notebook with me. I'm walking around with the agent, doing viewings, doing the thing, you're looking around and stuff. And then what happens, I put my notebook down on the sofa, we go and do other things, and then I leave, and then I get to the car, and then I remember, oh, I think I've left my notebook at the house. And then 10 minutes later, I go and knock on the door and say, really sorry, I think I might have left my notebook somewhere, maybe on the sofa. And guess what? Now you're in a conversation directly with the owner. Now, I'm not saying that you should exclude the agent. I'm definitely not saying that, because the agents are your friend, but you can communicate directly with the seller. You've got a much better chance of doing a deal. That's all I'm saying here, how you can get in front of the owner. So, for example, who's heard of Strike, the new estate agent that's kind of trying to promote on TV and stuff? Yeah. A couple of people. Okay, so Strike is a new estate agency model, a national agent. Well, what they're doing is saying, we'll sell your property for free. There's no fees. And what it means is that the seller has to do all the viewings, all the communication and stuff, and they put the for sale sign outside for them. They put it on Rightmove for them. So how does the agent make any money? Well, their model is they make money off all the mortgage financing and everything that happens, and all the other activity, the conveyancing. That's how they make their money. Now, it's still a new business. I'm not convinced they're going to make money doing that. But hey, they've chosen to do that. But what the brilliant thing for me is, it means I can send a message straight to the owner and talk to them. What more would I want from a seller, right? So look at opportunities where you can get straight in front of the owner to talk to them. Because I'm not saying to you, if you write 10 letters on planning portals, you're going to get 10 deals. You talk to 10 brokers, you're going to get 10 deals. It doesn't work that way. But what you're doing, you've got a much higher chance of finding a diamond doing this than you have sitting on Rightmove for 4 hours every day. Does this make sense? Yeah. So it's thinking outside the box. How can you find these type of deals? So what's next on here? Also, let me ask you a question. What you can see there, you have to turn your microphones on for this bit, otherwise it's not going to work.
Says opportunity is nowhere.
Yeah.
Opportunities everywhere.
Okay. So what's that now? Does that make it a bit clearer?
Opportunity is now here.
Now, yes.
Now here, right? It's all of it is the same words. Nothing's changed. It's just your perspective is different. And that's exactly it. The deals are everywhere. It's not a case that there are no deals. Everyone's frustrated. Oh, I can't find any deals. There's no deals out there. I can't get in. The deals are everywhere. It's just that we're not seeing them because we're not looking for them. If I sat down with you and I said, look, what we're going to do now, we're going to look for any property that looks fairly tired and distressed. And then what we're going to do, we're going to send a letter to that owner. We're going to put a leaflet to that door. Then on your journey home, I promise you, you'll see properties that you drive past every day that you never thought about. Because now we've identified that's what you're looking for. So it's focusing your mind on what is it you're looking for, how you're finding things. The deals are everywhere. They're in front of us, they're in plain sight. But we just need to know how to identify them. Is this making sense? Yeah, excellent. So so before we jump on to the last bit, we talk about we have a networking event. So we hold it at Edgbaston Cricket Stadium. We're about 200 people there. As I said, outside of London, it's the largest networking event. You know, if you want to come along, it's a £20 a ticket. If you want to ping us a message, ping me a message on social media, and you know, I'm quite happy to do you a 50% discount if you want to come along. We run some smaller ones in our own training suite. We can get 50 there for a networking event. So we run some at 200 capacity and some at 50, and they always get sold out. It's because we're not really a hard sell type environment. Yes, we tell you about what we do. We don't push it down your throat and say, buy this, buy that. It's, you know, I like to create an environment where people can network, they build, they grow, and that's hence here sharing my knowledge and trying to help other people as well. And if you're not in Birmingham, that is absolutely no excuse, because we have people traveling from all around the country to come to the event. So let's jump now into the final step, which is the money piece. So we talked about getting the strategy right, understanding, look, you need to get clear on what strategy you're going to use. Then it's a case of being able to find deals. Don't just kind of follow the herd, look at outside the box. So let's talk about now money in terms of funding deals. How do you find the money to fund deals? What really, the reality is there's about $1 trillion a day that exchanges hands. There's no shortage of money. The only issue is it's not going through your hands. So what we need to do is think, there is money out there, but why would somebody invest with me? We've got to think about, how can I be investable? How can I be attractive to an investor to want to invest with me? And this is what I kind of want to break down a little bit. The first thing is just understanding kind of, how money works and different types of money. So or some people talk about, like, for example, a capital stack. What's a capital stack? Well, if you were purchasing a property, let's say it's a buy-to-let, and your mortgage broker gets you a 75% mortgage. Let's say it's a £100,000 property. You've got to put £25,000 of your own money in. And so you've got your kind of core capital has come from the bank, and then your top up has come from you in terms of that. So you've got two different levels. But let's say you were buying the property, but then you're renovating. So that might be, you've got core part of it is bridging loan. Then you've got your money going as a deposit, but then you might have a top up as well that's required to develop the property. So you've got kind of different layers of money, and each of those different layers can be funded in different ways because they attract different types of risk. So for instance, the person or the organization that provides the main chunk of cash, they're probably going to get first charge security on that property. So they will offer you the lowest rates because they are sitting in the least riskiest position. Whereas the person who's giving you the top-up money to be able to do the renovation, when you start taking that property apart and you start using their money, and if they need to get their money back very easily, they're not going to be able to. See, so they're sitting in the highest risk part. So what you pay for that will probably be higher. So first way is understanding there's different layers to money, and it's not all money is all equal. It's depending on what it's going to be used for, and depending on what it's going to be used for, you'll probably pay a different amount for it. And then there's different types of funding. For instance, we talk about your mainstream funding being your banks, your first-tier banks for your buy-to-let type mortgages, for example. Then you've got your specialist finance like development finance, bridging finance, that kind of thing, crowdfunding. as being some of more modern methods or ways of funding deals. But then, I mean, the third method is my favorite, which is other people's money. That's essentially how I built my business. I still do that today. We use other people's money to buy property, to renovate. Most stuff we buy for cash. We use investors' money. We buy for cash, we renovate and flip, or we renovate and refinance. And we do that with investor money. When we refinance, we then go on to mainstream bank finance at that point. But, you know, attracting other people's money is just about being investable. Why should they invest with you? Now, before we look at kind of why they should invest with you, it's understanding also there's a couple of different ways you can structure deals. So, for instance, you can, well, actually, just before we do that, let's just talk a little bit more about other people's money. When you're trying to raise money from somebody else, you have to think about, if you were going to invest that money in yourself, would you do that? So if you're out there looking for £100,000 and you've got a certain proposition of a deal, for example, what that's going to look like and how it's going to work, and if you had the money and the shoe was on the other foot, somebody else approached you, would you invest your money in that person? Because what are you going to be thinking about? You're not necessarily always going to be thinking about return on capital. You're going to be thinking about return of capital. Is my money safe? Am I actually going to get it back? Are they going to make a mess of this? You know, what's their experience? What's the chance of this deal going wrong? How thorough is their due diligence? How competent or experienced are they? So all of these things are going to be going on in your mind if you're thinking investing with somebody. In the same way, when you're trying to raise money, you have to be aware of these things. And look, everybody has to start at the beginning. Nobody starts midway. Everybody starts at the beginning, which means everybody starts with no experience. So not having any experience is not the excuse when it comes to raising money, because you can still de-risk your project. If you're brand new and you haven't done any investing and you're out there trying to raise £100,000, you've got to be able to demonstrate to your investor how they are not going to lose money. And that could be you've got other people with you that are more experienced, more expert, that can help you, support you to make sure you don't get your fingers burnt. Because if the project goes well and you make some money, you'll be happy. A few people hear about it. If your project goes wrong and you lose money for the investor, everybody will hear about it. And that'll be the end. There'll be no more raising money. So you have to be, exceptionally careful when you're using other people's money and not take silly risks. So I talk about when people investing with me, I say, look, what you're going to get with me is modest to good returns. You are not going to get outstanding returns because we don't take outstanding risks with other people's money. And so, people make their own decisions of what they're comfortable doing. So there's plenty of money out there. You just have to be attractive to the investor as to why they should invest with you. And social media is a very easy, very powerful way of doing that by just sharing what you're doing. This is not, hey, I've got this amazing deal, come and invest with me, because there's some FCA, rules around how you can ask for money, what you can and can't say. More guidelines rather than rules. But this is really just about sharing your journey. Hey, I've been out to look at this property today. I think it's going to be potentially a really good HMO. I'm excited about it. I'm crunching the numbers. I think our investors are going to be able to get a really good return on this. You're just seeding the idea that you work with investors. You're not saying, hey, give me your money, come invest with me. See, when you're doing that all the time, what happens? It's so much easier when you need to raise money. The thing is, the best time to find money. Let me into a little bit secret. Come a bit closer. The best time to find money is when you're not looking for it. That sounds crazy. Why would I be, trying to find money when I don't need it? Well, try getting an overdraft from the bank when you really need it. They're throwing money at you when you don't need it, right? So what you do is you make sure you're attractive enough for investors. So you've got lots of conversations going on. You talk to somebody, you meet somebody, they're interested in investing with you. You think, fantastic, I'm off now to find a deal. You go off, you look for a deal, you come back 2 months later, you say, oh, I've got that deal we talked about. Are you ready? Say, oh, I hadn't heard from you. I've actually bought some crypto instead. See, it's not guaranteed they're your investor. They just expressed an interest in investing with you. But if you have lots of expressions of interest, here's the thing. You can pick and choose who you work with. You don't have to be in the state of desperateness, I need to raise the money. And that's kind of the key thing when it comes to raising money from other people. So I'm conscious of time. So let's the other thing to think about then is, how you structure the deal. There's two ways you can do is debt or equity. Debt is traditionally what most people do. It means they're borrowing money. It's debt. So if you're taking a mortgage, you're taking bridging finance, you're borrowing money in terms of a loan from your investor, that's all debt. Equity is where you're sharing the equity. Let's say all the money comes in, and then there's a share in the equity. You're sharing the risk and rewards, more of a joint venture, and they're kind of subtle differences, but it's important to be aware so you know what it is you're offering and how you're going to structure the deal. And the thing is that, as touching on what I talked about earlier on about, you've got to be putting good things out there to attract those conversations. You're not saying, come and invest with me, come and invest with me. Occasionally you might say that, but most of the time you're saying, hey, look, we do this, we do that, we help people get a great return. These are the returns we're trying to achieve right now. And you're just looking for where somebody might be interested in having a conversation with you. What you want to do then is qualify them, understand they might be the right type of person. Right now, we haven't time to go into that. We could spend half an hour, 40 minutes just on how to make sure you qualify and line up your investor. But really, the first thing you need to do is just start getting those leads in, start those conversations. Then when you qualify, then you've got plenty of investors to turn to. You've got a little bank of investors to turn to. You don't need 100, a handful of them, because when you got that deal, you ring that investor and say, hey, look, or you message him and say, we spoke recently about a deal in this particular way. I've got a fantastic opportunity. Of course, we need to move quickly on it. Would it be okay if I send it across to you and you come back to me within a couple of hours or by tomorrow morning at the latest? And hey, look, it's really okay if it's not suitable for you, just let me know as soon as possible, because then I can move on. And it's really important that you make it easy for them to say no, because it's better if they're on the fence to say no now, because how long does it take to complete a purchase? 2 months, 3 months, 4 months? You don't want to know on the day of exchange a text or a call that says, hey, Sad, we were going to invest in this property, but actually, you know what, we've had a slight change of mind. Good luck with it. Thanks, bye. You don't want that on the day of exchange. So you want them bought into it. Definitely they want to do it. So if they're on the fence, you want them out, because you've got 2, 3 other investors to turn to. It's easier that way. Is this making sense? Excellent. Okay, good. So look, I'm going to wrap up for questions in a minute. Can I get some more water, please? And just a reminder, we're going to run this competition tomorrow. If you want a copy of Don's book, then we'll send that to one person tomorrow. So if there's anything that you've got from this evening that you thought, actually, that was great, that was a nice learning, that was a great quote, post it on social media, tag me in, hashtag, and we'll pick one person tomorrow, and then we'll send the book out to them. And this is so this is our property networking event. If you want to join us, we will do you a 50% discount code. Just ping me a message on social media. And if you decide to do nothing today other than, if you enjoyed this, then jump onto this link here or scan this as a QR code, and we'll send you a video on the 9 things you must do for massive property investing profits, where really it's where, on that video, I focus on where the profits are. How do you make the money? So you're in our world, and we'll share content with you. So I hope that's been useful. I hope I haven't talked at you for the last hour or so, that you found it something beneficial there. So I'm happy to do questions now, if that's what we are going to do. So Pari, maybe over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Saj. It's really, I was thinking of golden nuggets, but it is like diamond nuggets for me. Honestly, it's really, really good content.
Thank you. I do like to try and over-deliver. There's no point in me sharing with you what you already know. It's a case of where can you get these little angles and something you can utilize tomorrow and benefit from. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yes, that's completely different perspective, because we always search on the Rightmove and the Zoopla and all of these platforms, and also auction, and also try to find some direct to vendor. But yeah, those 3 things are completely different. Yeah. So yes, and we just wrote that down as well. So we'll definitely try for our next deals. Thank you so much, Saj.
You're welcome.
So for question and answer, I will pass it to Kushal. So he will conduct the question and answer.
Yeah. I'll just leave the slide up. If anybody wants to connect with me, that's kind of the best way to do that.
Yeah, perfect. I think most of them are following you anyways, and if not, then they can start following you again.
I can always do with another YouTube subscriber, so I'm always doing that.
Yeah, we really like your content on YouTube as well.
Thank you.
Good with that as well. So guys, hope you have liked the content which Saj has kindly shared with us, and now it's the opportunity for you to ask any burning questions which you would like experts to answer. So here you go. Floor is all open. Maybe you can unmute yourself and ask the question straight away.
I can take the first question if no one
Yeah.
has one. Firstly, thanks for your time, Saj. Really great value. Really appreciate it. On the page about strategies, there was quite a lot of acronyms mentioned.
Yeah.
I think I know most of them, but I just wanted to clarify a few with you, if that's all right.
Sure.
PLO, that's purchase lease option.
Yes.
Is that correct? RTB, is that right to buy?
Yes. Oh, rent to buy. Sorry, rent to buy.
Rent to buy. Okay. I was going to say, how's right to buy property strategy? The two I didn't know was EDC and C2R.
So EDC is exchange with a delayed completion, which is very similar to a purchase lease option, but you're committed. There's no kind of you're obligated to buy, whereas in the purchase lease option you're not obligated. So slightly different structure to a purchase lease option. And much more solicitors are familiar with them, so they're easy to get past some solicitors. And the other one, C2R, is commercial to residential. We're taking commercial property, which is much cheaper per square foot, and converting that into residential. So you're creating a massive uplift by repurposing the building.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one question if nobody has.
Sure.
So can you talk to us a little bit about some of the joint venture structures and how you work with the investors? Like say, suppose somebody is having cash. So what examples like you can give us regarding joint venture structures?
There's a lot of different ways you can work with investors, and I tend to just simplify. This has just come from years and years. I've been doing this about 16 years now. So I've just simplified it to a couple of different ways. One way is we just borrow money for projects that we're doing. Effectively, the investors are lending money for projects, which is a fixed amount of money for a fixed period for a fixed return. So, for example, £100,000 for 12 months, say 8%, for example. So that's quite simple. They're effectively loan notes. And we do that as a minimum of 50,000. And you can set whatever criteria works for you. The reason we set 50,000 because with all due respect, I can't have £1,000 here and £5,000 there. It just doesn't make sense, and I'm trying to deal with 50 different people. So we tend to set the figure a bit higher. And most of our purchases are around 250,000 plus that we are buying property at anyway. Occasionally it'll be less, but often around there. So £5,000 is not going to go very far. So which is why we set a kind of minimum of 50,000. And often it's used either for renovation or development funds. Then the other way we work is where we do is a true joint venture where the partner is funding the deal in its entirety and we're sharing the risk and reward. And often what this means is where, let's say we're buying something for 250,000 and then we're spending 150,000 to convert it to a high-end HMO, which is one of our core models that we do. So that means the investors put in £400,000. Now, our valuation on that property will probably be 550, maybe even more. It will probably take us a year from start to finish, from the time we purchase the property to do the full renovation, to get it up and running, to get the high rents that we want to achieve, the premium rents, to be able to get a track record of that in the bank so we can prove that this is the rent that we're getting, making the commercial mortgage application, getting the valuation process, everything. By the time the money's back in the bank, that's probably going to be a year, 9 months to a year. So the investor is investing for almost a year with us. But what effectively they're doing, they're getting their money back within a year, and they've got half of the property, the equity that we've created, plus the cash flow. And often these properties will produce £1,400 plus cash flow per month. And we halve that as well, we share that. So effectively, we're not putting any money in, the investors putting all the money into that deal. And we are building a portfolio where they've got equity in those properties and income from those properties as well. And they're leveraging of our expertise. And with those, often it tends to be 350, 400,000 pounds that they're investing. Now, I have a bit of a waiting list for that because right now we just can't find enough good deals to do that. Because for an investor who's got cash, that's a no-brainer, right? As long as they know, like, and trust you, then the deal makes sense. Because we're creating something that doesn't exist. So you're thinking about what value can you add to an investor. You don't have to give away too much. Sometimes people say to me, why do you give half the deal away? I said, because it means we can just do endless amounts of deals. We don't have to worry about finding money because there's lots of people that will work with us. But what I try and do is understand why people want to invest, because a joint venture partner is really a business partner. Those joint venture agreements might be 10-year agreements. Some marriages don't even last 10 years. So you've got to make sure that, you know, you are comfortable with the person you're working with. You really don't want to enter business and get into business with somebody you don't like just because they got the money. That's going to be so painful, because you are not going to get on. It's going to be like this all the time. Sorry, you're on mute.
Yeah. What if money is left in the deal? Then what do you do with that scenario?
So what I would do in that situation, I make it clear to them, look, we can't guarantee that we're going to get the funds out. Yeah. But we expect, based on our experience and track record, we are going to probably get all, if not most of it out of the deal. And whatever's left in, then stays in the deal. Yeah. So if they've got 20, 30,000, that just stays in. So we have a 10-year, normally a joint venture agreement. And so at the 10-year point, we review it. We start about 9 years in, we start to review it. So what we do at that point, we decide, right, we can either sell the property, we take our profit, we pay your share that you still got tied up in there, we pay the mortgage off and we all walk away. Or what we can do is one person can buy the other person out if they want to do that, right? Or alternatively, we can remortgage the property again, release some more capital because we probably had an increase in value. First, pay any capital still left of the investor money back, 20, 30,000 back to them, and then we've got more surplus cash to do something else. Or the fourth option is everybody's happy, everything's working, we just renew again for another 10 years. So we have a number of options, but they tend to be 10-year agreements I tend to put into place.
Okay, perfect. Makes sense. Thank you.
And this still won't suit everybody, but you've got to create a model that you like and then find people that are happy with that. Don't change your model to suit other people.
Jake has already raised the hand.
Yeah, I have a question. First of all, thanks, Saj, for such a brilliant session. One of the best I have attended. Having said that, I'm a newbie in this field anyway. One question I have for you is, I hope so. One question I have for you is, you actually mentioned about some of the real life scenarios with investors and finding investors and actually keeping them until you have the deal in place.
Yes.
Probably I don't want an example from who you are today, but if we go back many years when you got started,
yes.
How did you manage to keep these investors, almost charged up and get ready to to their commitment, which you had from your initial conversation? You got any tips for us, basically?
Sure. In short, the answer was I did it very badly, and that's where a lot of the learning has come from. The experiences of what didn't work and the mistakes I made. And I did make the mistakes of, I thought, oh, they're ready to invest with me. Fantastic. I can park them and I can go off now and find property and whatever. When I come back, scenarios changed. So that I experienced that and realized, well, actually, this is not the right way to do it. So one is having an abundant number of investors is important. You're always having conversations, always be looking for money. Just because somebody said they're interested, they're going to invest, it doesn't mean they will. They might not like the deal, but that's okay. You're always having conversation. Just like we're always looking for deals, we're always looking for investment, we're having those conversations. But now let's say you've had a conversation with somebody, and really a lot of it is in the psychology of, look, if we're going to work together, we're going to be business partners, I need commitment from you. Here's the things I need you to do. It depends if they're going to lend you money or if they're going to come in as a partner, as a joint venture partner. It's slightly different, because lending money might be for 6 months or a year. A partner might be for many years in the project. But really, it's about commitment from them saying, look, psychologically, they're kind of committing to working with you. And then you get very clear on the criteria of what you're going to do. So, I literally would say, okay, Mr. Investor, just so I understand, what you're saying is, if we can find a deal that means that we're going to purchase for 250,000, we spend no more than 150 to convert it, and we're going to end up with a value of about 500,000. That's the type of deal you want to get involved in. When we refinance it, we should, but we can't guarantee you get all your money out. Have I understood correctly? This is the type of deal we want to do. Is that right? So I'm getting them to, one, acknowledge they understand the structure, and secondly, that they're saying, yes, this is what I want to do. Yeah. Now that yes isn't any kind of formal commitment, but at least it's an understanding that this is what we're trying to do. And then you want to liaise with them, keep them informed about what you're looking at, what's going on, having those conversations. And as I said earlier, make it very easy to say, that's fine if you don't want it. If you walk into a shop, let's say you've seen that leather jacket you really like, you look at it and you think, you know what, I'm going to haggle them down on price a little bit. And they say to you, look, it's £200. You look at it and say, well, see if the manager will do it for £180 for me, because, one of the tassels looks a bit off. And they might say, well, no, it is what it is. It's the last one that we have. It's not a problem because we've got a couple of other people that were also interested that might come in later on today for it. All of a sudden, you're thinking, forget the discount, I'll buy it. Because it's a scarcity thing, right? You think I'm going to miss out. So in the same way, if you make it easy, i.e. you potentially take something away from somebody, you put it in their hands and say, here's the deal. But if you don't like it, it's no problem. I'll take it back. From a psychology point of view, that's very powerful. You see, it's no, don't show anybody else. I'm in. Do you see? And so, so I don't do any formal written agreements. You can. I think, look, the relationship is really important, but I will do this kind of, testing people to make sure they're not going to mess me around as well.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. Should we take one more?
Yes, Saj. I mean, we have received one question from live audience from YouTube. So what is the question is, as you said, the most learning comes from when the things goes wrong in the life. So do you have any experience, and could you share your experience with this kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't recommend that you learn from mistakes. I don't think that's the best way to do it. There are a lot of learning from mistakes, but what I would say is learn from other people's mistakes. This is where we're always looking for somebody that's a few steps ahead. So, if I've done a few things that you haven't, then, I can share that knowledge with you and say, look, don't do it that way, do it this way because it's going to be easier for you. And there's many people that ahead of me, there's a lot of mentors that I have and that I turn to them. I say, look, this is what we're thinking of doing. What's your thoughts? And they might say, look, do it this way because you can avoid this mistake. So you're trying to learn from other people's mistakes. Now, as human beings, we're strange creatures that sometimes people can even tell us, don't do something, and we still stick our hand in the fire because that's just the way we are. So we want to try and minimize that. We're trying to minimize mistakes by just understanding, because often, it's around fear. And if we're fearful, we don't do things. But actually, the fear comes from not knowing what the outcome is going to be. So if somebody can guide us through and say, look, this is the likely outcome, it reduces our level of fear because it increases our level of certainty of outcome. And so it's really kind of around that. What I would say is I read a lot of biographies, like, for example, the book we're talking about, one of Trump's books earlier on. These are just stories about what they've done, how they've done things, what mistakes they made, how they've done things. And I think there's just so much learning in understanding how people have achieved things. And if something's possible, it's about a belief thing. So you might be starting out and I think, how am I going to get my first deal? And I'll tell you what, with some of the early deals I did with no money down, and they were below market value as well. And the first 2 years, it was really hard. And my wife, who's massively supportive, at the time would say to me, look, you've been at this for a couple of years. Nobody's going to sell you a house for less than it's worth. These people are crazy, these events you go to and stuff, and spending all this money and things. It's mad. It doesn't work. Just go and get a job. And even though she's supportive, she's trying to say to me, look, this is not working. But when I got the first deal done and actually had about £4,000 cash back as well, and when that money landed in the bank, then she was converted. She was a believer, right? Because, sometimes we have to see things to believe things. It's like, who would have believed, 50, 60 years ago that somebody could walk on the moon? Because another human being has done it, then we have the belief it's possible. And now someone's off to Mars. Right, so it's all belief comes from seeing other people that have done things and that are ahead of us as well. So I don't know if I've gone off of a tangent there or that was useful.
Yes, that's really helpful. Thank you, Saj.
Sure.
Yeah. So anybody has any question? I don't think so. We don't have any questions. Okay. So let's move ahead and let me share my screen. So that's question and answer, and I'm gonna announce for our next month's expert. She's Radhika Shah. So she is a property entrepreneur, and she was a front cover for NRLA 2021. You can check out her profile. She is on Facebook and also on Instagram. And yeah, let us know how we did today with Saj, and it's really a really great value, Saj. And guys, comment us and give us a review on the Trustpilot. So Robin, would you mind to share the link for Trustpilot, please?
Barry, you can tell everybody, look, if they enjoyed this evening, tell everybody. And,
Okay.
if you didn't like this evening, for God's sake, don't tell anybody at all.
I think everybody likes it. So I'm not seeing screen. I don't know. That screen.
I have shared.
And my Zoom is just crazy tonight. I don't know what is happening here.
That's fine.
Okay, so go ahead and can you see my screen, everyone? So, okay, that's good. So this is our achievement from the last month. Guys, we have 1,500 members on our Facebook community. So you can join us. And also, if you have any questions, if you miss or if you think of any questions later on as well on this session tonight, you can just drop that question here or message us personally, and we can see Saj can help us and get connected with the Saj for those questions as well. So here is the group, here is the platform for you to ask any question. And also on YouTube, as you can see, we have literally more than 100 videos only, but we got more than 12,000 views on YouTube channel and also more than 480 subscribers. So guys, there is a very
Can I just add to that? That is a phenomenal achievement. YouTube is so hard. It looks easy, but it's super hard to build on YouTube. So you've done amazingly well, getting to there.
Thank you so much, Saj. Thank you. So guys, it's really a valuable content over here, and it's a free of cost. So just go ahead and watch it. And if you have any questions, yes, just drop the comment in the comment box, or just reach out to any of the Project Possible member, and we are here to help you. Yeah, a huge thank you guys for coming here tonight, and a huge thank you, Saj. It's really a great value that you shared. So thank you. I have learned different things tonight. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And for the next event, guys, it will be on 22nd June. So save this date, and we will see you there on 22nd.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you
Thanks
so
so much.
much. Thank you,
Bye.
Saj.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.